Hey guys, in today's tutorial I'll teach you how to make one of my baby pineapples. This is a smaller version of a pineapple that I currently have on my channel, so if you're interested in learning how to make a bigger one, you can go ahead and check that video out. I did want to create a smaller version because I'm doing my mini fruits and vegetables series, so I do have my mango and eggplant video out right now, so hopefully you guys had a chance to check that out. But after this pineapple one, I'm not sure if I'm posting any more. I'll have to see, but right now all I have left is this pineapple, and it's pretty easy to make. It's kind of similar to, well, it's not similar, but I made it the same way as the mango where I want to hang it in my car, so that's why I did add some yarn to the top. You don't have to add this if you don't want to. You can also put a key ring instead, but if you don't want to buy that, I feel like the yarn is a good alternative. So this guy right here is the one that I made in the video. You can see he has a lot of hair on the top, not as much as this guy, but I do like the look of this. If you don't, you can skip a couple of stitches, but I will be showing you how to make this one. I just wanted a little bit of variety in my collection, but I do like the look of both of these guys. It's pretty simple to make. If you did follow my bigger pineapple pattern, it's the same thing, it's just less stitches. So you have some puff stitches, you're doing some single crochets, some chain stitches, and then we're doing some half doubles, triple crochets and double crochets. Now in my original video where I made this, I didn't know what that stitch was called. People were telling me I did the bobble stitch, but I think this is the puff stitch, so I did call it the puff stitch in this video. But I always confuse those two stitches because every time I'm crocheting, I'm not really following a pattern. I just do it and I'm like, wait, is this the puff or the bobble? So I get confused, but I did call it the puff stitch in this video. But anyways, if you're interested in making one of these, I'll let you know what you'll need in the next couple of clips. Actually, before we get to that, let me show you a full view of this guy because I didn't turn him around. But here's the front of his face, and this is what it looks like on the other side, and you have a flat bottom right there. And yeah, that is how the pineapple looks. So now I'll let you know what you'll need if you're interested in making one of these pineapples. I'll be using a 4mm crochet hook, but if you have a 3.5 or 3.75, those will also be fine. It'll just turn out a little bit smaller. I'll be using some green and yellow yarn. This yellow one is from the Big Twist Valued line. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's just a bright yellow. And then this green one is the Caron Simply Soft. I actually didn't like this in the beginning, but I think that it looks really good on top of the pineapple. You don't have to use these exact yarns, but these are the ones that I'll be using because this is what I had on hand. I'll also be using 10mm safety eyes, and of course you don't have to use the same size. You can use anything bigger or smaller, whatever you think looks best. I'll also be using some black embroidery thread, but if you don't have thread, you can use black yarn, and then I'll also be using a threading needle. And lastly, you're going to need a stitch marker, scissors, and some stuffing. Okay, so let's first start off with our yellow yarn, and we're going to create a magic circle. So let's take our yarn. I like to hold it against my fingers with my thumb. And then I'm going to take the yarn and wrap it around 3 fingers. But once I get back to the top, I'm going to create an X. So I'm taking the yarn, creating an X like that, and then I'll bring the yarn back down my hand, and this time I'm just going to take my pinky and place it on top of the yarn, not holding it too tightly because I will need the yarn to move as I'm crocheting into the circle. Okay, so now that we have our X and the circle, well, this circle right here, let's take our hook, go inside the circle, and let's grab that front piece of the X, so this one right here. I'm going to grab that, pull it through, and then I'm just going to twist up. Now I have a loop on my hook. So I'm going to go again into that same yarn, this one here. I'm going to just go under and grab it and pull it through the loop. Now just let go so you can see we have our circle. And I'm just going to pull on it really quick so I can tighten all of them up, well, all of the sides up. And that's our magic circle. And then if you grab onto this yarn, you can adjust it to make it a little bit smaller, because I do like to crochet in a smaller circle. So now going on to round 1, we're going to single crochet 6 times into the circle. Okay, so when you crochet into the circle, you're going to have to go around the circle and this yarn piece as well, because this is how we adjust it. So take your crochet hook and go inside your circle. You're going to grab some yarn and pull it through the circle. You have 2 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through. So that's a single crochet into our magic circle. And remember, you're going around these 2 pieces right here, and this is the yarn you're grabbing through the circle. So I just did 1 single crochet, I'll do another. So going into the circle, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops. I'm yarning over and pulling through both of those loops. So that was 2. Let's go in again. Grab this yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So that was 3. This is 4. And then going for my 5th one. Now before I do the 6th, I like to take this yarn and pull it just so it can get smaller and I can do my last single crochet. So this is my 6th, and now I'm done with round 1, so I can take my stitch marker and place it into the last stitch, and that's the end of round 1. For round 2, we're going to increase into each one of these stitches. We're increasing with a single crochet. So let's go into our first stitch, which is this one here. Let's push our hook through and grab some yarn and pull it through. So this is a single crochet. We're still doing the same thing. I didn't go through the entire stitch. Let me do that again. Okay, now I'm grabbing my yarn, pulling it through. I have my 2 loops on the hook. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through both. So that was 1, and I have to do another one into the same stitch because this is an increase. So if you repeat an increase throughout this entire row, you should end up with 12 stitches. So I'll demonstrate once more. So going into the next stitch, I'm just going to push my hook through, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So that was 1 single crochet. I need to do another one into the same stitch because this is an increase. So now I'm just going to repeat this throughout the entire row or round, and I'll end up with 12 in round 2. And then I think we only have about 2 more increasing rows because this guy is going to be a little bit smaller. So let me just go ahead and finish this, and then I'll be right back. Remember, just increase into every stitch. So now that we're done with round 2, let's move on to our next increasing round. So for round 3, let's start off with an increase into the first stitch. So this first stitch right here, I'm just going to go in, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So that was 1. I'll do another one into the same stitch. Remember, we're starting off with an increase. And then into the next stitch, do 1 single crochet. And now you're just going to repeat those 2 steps all the way through. So I'll demonstrate again. So going into the next stitch, I have to start off with an increase. Remember, it's just increasing with a single crochet. So I just did 1, and I'm doing another one. Into the following stitch, I need to do 1 single crochet. So here we go. Next stitch, doing my 1 single crochet. Now I'm just going to repeat that all the way through until I get 18 stitches in total. So I'm just going in now with another increase, and then following that by doing 1 single crochet into this next stitch. So now I'll just repeat that off camera, and then I'll be back for round 4. Moving on to round 4, we're going to create a bobble row. So it's going to look like these things right here. You can see the yarn popping out a bit, which makes it look like a pineapple. And this will take up quite a bit of yarn, and it also will most likely you're going to get stuck on your hook because you have so much yarn on it. But I'll show you what I do to kind of make it move faster. Sometimes it still will get stuck, but I'll show you how we can start it off first. So this row, we're still going to end up with 24 stitches. It's just that we're using different stitches right now. So what we're going to do is start off with a half double crochet. So to do that, you're going to yarn over your hook. You're going to take your hook and insert it into the first stitch. And then you're going to grab that yarn and pull it through. I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over my hook and pull through all 3 of the loops. And that was a half double crochet. So now we're going to do the bobble stitch, which, well, I called it the bobble row, but I actually think this is called the puff stitch. In my original pineapple video, I didn't know what that stitch was, and some people told me it was the bobble stitch, but I'm pretty sure this is called the puff stitch. So let me show you what it is. Going into the next stitch, let's yarn over our hook, go into our next stitch, grab some yarn and pull it through. I currently have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again. I'm going to insert my hook into the same stitch, grab some of that yarn, pull it through, and now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on my hook. I want to yarn over again and insert it into the same stitch once again. And I know it's going to be a little bit hard because it's a small space, but now just take some yarn and pull it through. And then at this point you should have, okay, my yarn just split. Let me just fix that really quick. I'm just doing the same thing. I just had to take it off really quick. Okay, so now at this point I should have 7 loops on my hook. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now that you have 7 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through all. Okay, so at this point, when you yarn over, what I do is take my hook and I'll bend it downwards. And I feel like it's a little bit easier to get all through all of the loops. So yeah, that was, I believe, the puff stitch. From now on in this video, I will just refer to it as the puff stitch. And if you know what the bobble stitch is, you can do that for this pattern as well, because I think it looks just as cute. I have done it before, but I always alternate these stitches that I get so confused because, you know, I usually don't follow a pattern. I'm just making it up as I go along, so I always confuse my stitches. But now let's go and repeat these 2 stitches all the way through. So you're still going to end up with 24 stitches in total because we're not increasing. But following into this next stitch, let's start off with a half double crochet, and we're going to do that by yarning over our hook, going into the next stitch, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And then going into the next stitch, you're going to do your puff stitch. So let's yarn over our hook, go into this next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook. Now we have to yarn over again, go into the same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. Now we have, I believe it's 5 now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to do that one more time. So just yarn over, go into your same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, and now you should have 7 loops on your hook. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yarn over, then take your hook and kind of turn it downwards and just kind of shake it, or like twist it, not shake it, just twist it and try to pull it through. It's going to get stuck like this sometimes, but it's fine. You just have to work gently and pull all the way through. And now we're just going to repeat that all the way through until you get back to your stitch marker. I will demonstrate that once more. So going into the next stitch, let's yarn over, go into your next stitch. We're doing our half double crochet first, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Now going into the next stitch, you have to do your bobble. So yarn over your hook, go into your next stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have 3 loops on the hook, so yarn over again. This is the bobble, remember. So now going into your same stitch, grab some more yarn and pull it through. We have 5 loops on the hook. It's all bunched up together. So now let's yarn over again, go into the same stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through. And now we have 7 loops in total. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yarn over and now pull through all 7 of the loops. If you need to just go through a 1 loop at a time, that's fine if you're having issues. So you can see I just pulled through a couple, and then I can pull through the last 2. And then to make the bobbles stick out, you just need to push them. And you don't have to do that now, but if you want it to stick out more, you just have to push them from the inside. So now I'm just going to repeat that all the way through until I'm done with my 24 stitches. Okay, so after round 4 of doing our puff stitch, this is what it looks like. And now we're just going to increase it just a bit because I kind of want it to curve upwards like that. So what we're going to do is start off with an increase in this round. Also, when you ended that puff stitch round, you should have ended up with a puff stitch at your stitch marker. So that's what I have right there. And now we're just going to increase into our first stitch. So this right here is my first stitch. I'm not sure if you can see, but if you look at the top, you can see all of your stitches. So we're going to go into this one right here, and we're going to start off with an increase with a single crochet. So go into your first stitch. If you forgot a single crochet, remember, just go through your stitch, grab some of that yarn, pull it through. We have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through both. That was 1. I need to do another one of those into the same stitch. So going into the same stitch, grab some of that yarn, pull it through. There's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through both. So that was an increase into the first stitch. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2 stitches. So just do 1 single crochet into each of those. I just did 1, going into the next one right here. Grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So now you just have to repeat those 3 steps all the way through until you get 24 stitches in total in round 5. I will demonstrate this one more time. So going into my next stitch, I have to start off with an increase. So let's go in, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through both. I have to do that one more time into the same stitch. So let's go in, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling through both. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next 1, 2 stitches. Let's go in, just 1, going into my next stitch to do 1 single crochet. So now I'm just going to repeat this all the way through until I get my 24 stitches. After you finish your increasing round, this is what it looks like. Now we can go on to our puff round. So for this round, every time you start off with a puff round, you have to do a half double crochet first. So let's go into this first stitch and yarn over your hook. Go into that first stitch, grab some of this yarn, pull it through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Let's yarn over and pull through all 3. Remember, that is a half double crochet. Now you're going to follow that by doing a puff stitch into the next stitch. So to do that, let's yarn over our hook, and then let's go into our next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's our 3 loops on the hook. We have to yarn over again, go through the same stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through. Now you have 5 loops on your hook. So here's 4 right there, and that's the 5th one. I'm going to do that one more time by yarning over, inserting it into the same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. You should have a total of 7 loops on your hook now, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 7. But remember, what I like to do is go down and then push up through a couple stitches at a time, or if you could, pull through all 7, but sometimes it's a struggle. So I'm just gonna go and pull through a couple of them, and then I push up, and then finally through my 7th one, and that was the puff stitch. So now you just have to repeat those 2 steps all the way through, and you're just going to remain with 24 stitches in total for the rest of this. But I will demonstrate these 2 steps one more time before I officially go off camera. So let's go into our next stitch and do our half double crochet. Remember, we're alternating between these 2 stitches. So let's yarn over our hook, go into the next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. We have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then going into the next stitch, we're doing our puff stitch. So let's yarn over, go through your next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. We have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, go through the same stitch, grab some more of that yarn, pull it through, and now you should have 5. So you can see 4 right here, and it's the 5th one. Then I'm going to do that one more time. So yarn over your hook, go through the same stitch, grab some yarn and pull it through, and now I have a total of 7 loops on my hook. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 7. Remember, if it's easier, just pull through. See, I can only get through 1 at that first time. I got through some of these, and I push up, and finally through my 7th. So now I'm just going to repeat these 2 stitches all the way through until I get my 24 in round 6, my 24 stitches in round 6. After you finish round 6, you're going to notice that the stitches on the inside might show up more than what's on the outside right here. So this is where I said before, you can just push those stitches out and it will just look a little bit nicer, a little bit more plump. But again, you don't have to do that now. But if you're worried that why does it look like it's more the stitches look better on the inside, it's because you still need to push it out. You can see it comes out just like that. But again, you don't have to do that now. You can wait till later if you want. But let's now move on to round 7, and round 7 is an easy round. So what you're basically alternating between is a puff round and a single crochet round. So what we just did was the puff round. Let me get my yarn together. Okay, sorry, I was tangled up there. But what you're alternating between is the puff round, which is what we just did, and then a single crochet round, which is what we're about to do right now. So this is round 7. And what we're doing is just basically just single crocheting. So take your hook, go into your first stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on our hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So that's a single crochet, and that's what you're doing for this entire round. So it's really easy. If you need me to remind you again what a single crochet is, let's go into our stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So if you single crochet into each one of these stitches, you're still ending up with 24 in this round. So just go ahead and single crochet this entire round, and then we can move on back to the puff round. This is what it looks like after I finish round 7. So this was a single crochet round, and every time you finish one of those, you always have to follow that by doing a puff round. So for this round, we're going into round 8 right now. Every time you start a puff round, you need to do your half double crochet first. So let's yarn over our hook, go into the stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. That was a half double crochet. And then remember, for these rounds, we have to alternate between 2 stitches, which is that half double we just did, and now going to the puff. So let's yarn over our hook, go into the next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's our 3 loops on the hook. Now let's yarn over again, go into the same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. We have 5 loops on the hook now. So this is my 4 and then the 5th. I have to do that one more time. So yarn over your hook, go into the same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. And now we have 7 loops total on our hook. You're just going to yarn over and pull through all 7. Ooh, this time I got through all of them. And now you're just going to repeat those 2 stitches all the way through. And remember, you're not increasing anything, so you're still going to end up with 24 stitches. So I'm just going to go into my next one by doing a half double crochet. There's my 3 loops, yarning over, pulling through all 3. Then I'm going to go in with the bobble, so I'm going to yarn over, go through that stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's my 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, going into the same stitch, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. There's my 5 loops on the hook, yarning over one last time, going into the same stitch, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. And there's my 7 loops on the hook, so I'm yarning over. Let's see if I can pull through all 7 again. No, I couldn't, so I'm just going to push up through some of the stitches, or some of the loops. I'm gonna go again through this one, and then I'll try to pull. Yes, got through all of them. So that was my puff stitch, and now I'm just going to repeat this all the way through, and then we'll move on to round 9. All right, so we just finished a puff round, so that means we need to go back to a single crochet round. So we are currently on round 9, and we're just doing a single crochet. So just take your crochet hook, go into your stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So just single crochet this entire round. It's really easy. So I'm going to finish this off camera, and then I'll be right back. So remember, just single crochet. You just go into your stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So I'll just do that until I get to the stitch marker, and then we can move on to round 10. I was going to go off camera for rounds 10 to 12, but I'm just going to demonstrate it just a little bit faster this time, because they're just basically a repeat of what we did here. So for round 10, let's do our bobble round. Our puff round. So let's go into our first stitch with a half double crochet. And then into the next one, you're going to do your puff stitch. So just yarn over, go through your stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. 3 loops on the hook, yarning over again, going into the same stitch, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. There's our 5 loops on the hook, yarn over again, go into the same stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. Now you have 7 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 7. Oops, got through the, oops, not oops, but I got through the entire loops this time. I love when that happens. So now let's just alternate between the 2. So let's go back to our half double crochet. 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through all 3, and then going back to the puff. So remember, for the puff, you need to have 7 loops total before you pull through all of the loops. So just yarn over now and pull through all 7. So I'm just going to finish this off camera, and then I'll be back. Now that we've finished a puff round, we have to go to our single crochets. So this is round 11. Let's go in this entire round with a single crochet. So just go into your first stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So just single crochet this entire round, and then for the next round we're going to our last normal puff round. I gotta stop saying bobble. But yeah, I'll just finish this off camera and then I'll be right back. Moving on to round 12, let's do our puff round. Remember, we always have to start off with a half double crochet when we do these kind of rounds. So let's yarn over our hook, go into the stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through all 3. Now into the next stitch, we're going in with the puff stitch. So yarn over your hook, go into the stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, going to the same stitch again, grab some yarn, pull it through. Now you have 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over one last time, and then go into your stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through. I said yarn over one last time, but you have to do it again. But this time you're pulling through all 7 loops. And that's your puff stitch. So just repeat those 2 stitches all the way through until you get your 24 stitches. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's just been a repeat. So I'll be right back. And then we can move on to our decreasing round. This is what it looks like after I finish round 12. And if you like to add the face on now, you can go ahead and do that. I like to place my face towards the bottom. If you want it in the middle, that's totally fine. But I do place mine after the decreasing round, but it's going to close it up just a bit. So if you feel like you're going to have trouble with that, you can just do it now if you want. But I'll do that after my decreasing round. So I'm going to show you that first. And to do that, we're going to decrease into the first stitches, these 2 right here. So what you're going to do is take your crochet hook and insert it into the first stitch. Now you're going to grab some yarn and pull it through. I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go into the next stitch, so the one right after it, do the same thing. So just inserting my hook, grabbing some yarn, pulling it through. I now have 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over and pulling through all 3. So that was a decrease. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So these 2 right here. I'm just going to do 1 single crochet into each of those. And then now I have to repeat those 3 steps all the way through until I get 18 stitches in total, because this is a decreasing round. So going into these next 2 stitches here, I'm doing the decrease. So I'm going to go into that stitch, grab some of this yarn through. I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm now going into the next stitch, and I'm doing the exact same thing by grabbing some yarn and pulling it through. I now have 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through all 3. That was a decrease. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So just 1 single crochet into each of those, going into that next one. Now I just repeat that all the way through. You're just repeating 3 steps, and I feel like I should just show it one more time. So into these 2 stitches right here, let's do a decrease. Go in, grab some yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook. Going into the following stitch, do the same thing, push it through, grab some of the yarn, pull it through. I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through all 3. Then I'm going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Remember, just 1 single crochet into those stitches. So now I'll just repeat that until I get 18 stitches in total in round 13. So now that we finish our decreasing round, this is what it looks like. And you can go ahead and add your face. So remember, I'm using 10mm safety eyes, but you can use whatever size you have. So these are the ones I'm using. And I do like to place my face towards the bottom. And I insert it in between, you know, those single crochet rounds we did, instead of going through a bobble, because that would kind of look, I think it would look weird, but I mean, if you can make it work, of course do that. So I'm going to go into this open space because it's just there. And oh my god, that looks so cute already. I feel like I could probably do smaller eyes, but I think I'm just going to leave it. Yeah, I think I'll leave these eyes. So I have had some comments where people ask me how to insert the eyes, so I will just demonstrate it in this video. But you just take your safety eye and push it into your project wherever you think it looks best. And then from the inside, you can kind of flip it out, and you're going to see this little black part. Well, depending on what color eye you're using, but I'm using a black one, so you can see this little nub right here. You're just going to take the backing that comes with your eyes, and you're just going to place it on top and just push it through just like that. And that's just a way that it's going to be secured onto your project. And then now we can add the mouth. So for the mouth, you're just going to take your threading needle and your embroidery thread. Remember, you don't have to use embroidery thread if you don't have it. Black yarn will work just as fine. It's just going to be a little bit thicker. But for the mouth, I'm just going to go from the inside of my project and I'm going to find where I think it looks best. And you can see this little opening right here. I feel like I just want to go into that one. Oops. No, right here. There it goes. And then I'm just going to pull through. And then I'm going to go through the next side of the face, so kind of right here. I'm just going to push back in. And I'm going to push out through the top. So you see the needle right here? I'm just going to push out. And I'm not going to pull all the way from the outside. Okay, so you can see the mouth right there. I didn't fully pull it. It's because I'm going to go back in. And I'm going to push through the middle. So you see the mouth right here, I'm going to go through the middle right here. If I can make my way through. So there it is. And you can see my needle is pushing through and the mouth isn't fully against the face just yet. What I'm going to do is go over that mouth, pull the needle through, and now I'm going to pull. And then you can see that it creates like a little curve at the bottom. And I'm just going to take my needle and push it back through the pineapple. I'm going to go under the mouth this time and just push it through. Pull it back out. And there's the mouth. If you want to go over a couple of times just to make the black a little bit thicker, you can do that. But I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to take my scissors, cut off the embroidery thread. And then I'm just going to tie a knot with these two pieces here. And then we can move on to our last round with the yellow. After I added the face, I did also go ahead and stuff the inside. So go ahead and do that. And after you do that, we're going to move on to round 14, which round 14 is back to our puff round. So remember, the way we start that off is yarning over our hook. Going through the first stitch, we're doing a half double crochet first. So just yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And then you go back to the puff stitch and you're alternating between these 2 stitches. So let's yarn over our hook, go through that stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over again, go through the same stitch, pull some yarn through. Now you have 5 loops on the hook, do that again. So you can get your 7 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 7. And you're just going to repeat that all the way through, but this time you're going to end up with 18 stitches in total because remember we just decreased in that previous round. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off camera and then I'll be right back. This is just a repeat between the half double and the bobble, so we've already did that basically throughout this whole video, so I'll be right back. And then we are almost done with this yellow part. After finishing round 14, this is what it looks like. So you can see it's starting to close up a bit. But for this next round, we're just going to do a single crochet. If you feel like your opening is really big, you can do a half double crochet round instead of a single crochet. But I'm just going to do a single crochet because I feel like the opening looks fine. So after this, you're going to be attaching some green yarn and then it's going to start closing up once we weave it through with our threading needle. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and do a single crochet round and then I'll be back to show you how we can attach our green yarn. Once you finish your single crochet round, you no longer need your stitch marker. So what you can do now is take your scissors, cut off some of this yarn right there. And now you see we have a loop right here and this yarn piece. You're going to take that yarn piece and push it through the loop. And that's just one way we're going to tighten it. You can just stuff that back into the pineapple. We can stuff the pineapple a little bit more later on. You don't need to do that right now because we're still going to be working with the green yarn at the top. So what you're going to do is take your green yarn. Okay, so now to attach the green yarn, let's go ahead and insert our hook through any stitch you want. I'm going to do it close to the one where I just ended off the yellow yarn. So I'm going to put it into this stitch right here. And then I'm going to take my green yarn and pull it through that stitch. And then I'll just tie a knot. You can do 1 or 2 knots. I think 1 is fine, so I'm just going to leave it as is. And now I'm going to take that crochet hook, insert it into the same stitch where I tied the green yarn. I'm going to pull that green yarn through. And now I'm going to create a chain. The first chain I'm going to create is a chain of 8. So I'm going to yarn over my hook and pull through. So that was 1, yarn over, pull through for 2, yarn over, pull through for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the way that I make these leaves is honestly just by how I feel like I want it to look. So I don't have like a specific pattern to follow. Well, if you follow my bigger one, I do have a specific pattern, but for the smaller one, I kind of just do whatever I feel. So going into back down into this chain, what I like to do for the first one is make it a little bit thinner. So I'm not going to go into the chain closest to the hook, so not this one right there. Going into the next stitch over, or the next chain over, which is this guy, the second one. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to grab some of that yarn and pull it straight through that chain and also the loop on my hook. And that's called a slip stitch. And then into the next stitch, I'm just going to do a single crochet. So you can see it's still thin, it doesn't fan out too much. Into the next chain, I'm going to do the same thing, just another single crochet. Now if you want it to be a little bit wider, what you're going to do is start doing a half double crochet, which is yarning over your hook, going into the next chain, pull some of that yarn through. You have your 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Okay, so now you can see it's starting to fan out a bit more. For the next one, I'm going to do another half double crochet, so yarn over your hook, go into that next chain, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So you can see I kept it relatively thin for this one. When I chain a longer number like 9 or 10, I'll make it a little bit thicker. But going into the next chain, I'm going to do a half double crochet just to show you how it's going to look if it's a little bit bigger. So yarn over your hook. Sorry, I'm going to do a double crochet. I'm going to go into that chain. I'm going to grab some yarn, pull it through. I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. I have 2 loops left on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. So it just gets a little bit bigger. Now into this last chain right here, I'm going to do another double crochet. So I'll yarn over my hook, go into that last chain, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's my 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over, but pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. And then what I'm going to do next is just single crochet into the next stitch. Well, if you want it to be, no, we should just single crochet in the next stitch. I was going to say you can single crochet back into here if you want, but then it's going to leave it kind of like too thin for my liking. But if you want to do that, you can single crochet back into that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. So this one right here. Just do your normal single crochet. And that is what the first leaf looks like. Now this time let's chain 9. So yarn over your hook, pull through for 1, yarn over, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this time let's start off by single crocheting into the second chain. So that's the first chain, this is the second, so I'm going to go into that one. I'll do my single crochet, and then I'll do another single crochet into the following chain. So this one right here, I'm just going to do my single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the next chain with a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that next chain, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. So I'm going to go again with a half double crochet into the next chain. Okay, so you can see this is what it currently looks like, and you notice that this one right here, it just stays straight up. But if you want the leaf to start curving, what you have to do is do an increase into the same chain. So remember how we just did a half double crochet into this one? We're going to do another half double crochet into that same chain. So yarn over your hook, go into that same chain, pull some yarn through. We have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So if you keep wanting it, if you want it to keep turning, you have to do that again into the following chain. So let's go into the next one and do a half double crochet. There's the 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. Okay, so you can see that it's naturally starting to curve now. I'm going to do another half double crochet into that same chain. So I'm yarning over, going into that chain, pulling some yarn through, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through both. And there you have it. It's starting to turn just a bit. But now I kind of want to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to do a double crochet into the next chain. So let's yarn over our hook, go into that chain, pull some yarn through. We have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. And I'm just going to do 1 double crochet into that one, but into the following one I'm going to do an increase with a double crochet. So let's yarn over our hook, go into this next chain, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, and pull through the last two loops. So I just did that one time. I'm going to do that another. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, go into that same chain, grab some yarn, pull it through. This is a double crochet. So yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And I'm just going to pull it out really quick to show you what it looks like. So you can see that's just a little bit of a curve there. And then into the last chain, this one right here, I'm going to do a double crochet, just 1. If you want to do an increase to make it turn more, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm just going to do 1 double crochet. So there's my 3 loops. I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and then we're just going to single crochet into the next stitch. So this one right here, just going to single crochet, and I'm just going to take it out really quick so you can see how it looks. There you have it, just a little bit of a curve on that one, and that one is more straight. Okay, so right now I'm just teaching you how to make your leaf look a little bit different. If you don't like how mine is kind of short, you can make it a little bit longer if you want. But into my next one, I'm going to do a chain of 10. So I do 3 different chains, a 9, 10, and 11. If you like to do it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, you can always change that. I'm just going to teach you, certain stitches you can use and how to shape the leaf. So this time, let's do a chain of 10. So yarning over a hook, pulling through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So for this leaf, I'm going to show you how to make it a little bit thicker. So every time you go back down into a chain, you're always going into the second one and not the first, because that's too close to the hook. So for this first one, let's just go in with a single crochet. Just go in, grab a yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. Now I'm going to start making it bigger already, so I'm going to go into the next one with a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go through that chain, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on my hook, I'm yarning over, pulling through both. So you can see it's already a little bit bigger than this one right here, because we're starting with the half double crochet really close to the top. So now I'm going to go in with another half double crochet into the next chain. So I'm just yarning over, going into the next chain, grab some yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, I'm yarning over, pulling through all 3. Okay, so into the next chain, I'm going to go in with a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go through that chain, pull some yarn through, 3 loops on the hook, I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. That is a double crochet. And now I'm going to go into the next chain with a double crochet, but I'm going to do an increase because I want my leaf to turn just a little bit more. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that chain, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and I'll do another one of those into the same stitch. This is a double crochet. And then going into the next chain, I'm going to do a triple crochet. So to do that, I'm going to yarn over once and twice. Then I'll go into the next chain. I'll grab some yarn, pull it through. I have 4 loops on the hook this time. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2. I have 3 loops left. I'll yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And that was a triple crochet. And now you can see it's getting much bigger now. So I'm going to do another triple crochet into that same chain. So let's yarn over 1, 2 times, go into that chain, that same chain, pull some yarn through. We have 4 loops on our hook. Let's yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. and that was a triple crochet into the same chain. I don't want this leaf to be really curly, so I'm gonna do an increase with a triple crochet through the last 3 chains. So let's yarn over 2 times, go into the next chain, grab some yarn, pull it through. There's our 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and I'll do that once more into the same chain. So yarn over 2 times, go into the chain, that same chain, and pull through. We have our 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So you can see it's really big now. Okay, so I'm going to do that again into the next chain. So yarn over 2 times, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have our 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And I'm going to do that one more time into that same stitch. This is the triple crochet. And then we have 1 chain left to do. If you don't want to make it any more curlier, you can just do it once, but I think I'm going to do it an increase into that last one. So I'm going to go in, doing my triple crochet. Actually, is it too curly? What do you guys think? Well, I wish you could respond, but you know, I feel like it's curly enough. So I'm just going to do it only 1 triple crochet into that last one. And then remember, to end it off, you're just going to single crochet into the next stitch. And let me take it out to show you what it looks like. And here you have 3 different variations. So you just have this plain straight one. This one is kind of curly. This one is really curly and it's thicker. So you can adjust it to how you like. I'm just going to finish crocheting around. I'll probably show you a couple more before I officially go off camera, but this is what it currently looks like. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate this one more time because I'm running out of storage space, but basically it's just a repeat of this. You can chain either 8, 9, or 10. So this one is 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to go back to 8 now, and let's go ahead and just start our chain by yarning over, pulling through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And then to go back down, you always go into the second chain. So not this one, but this one right here. And you can either go in with a slip stitch or a single crochet. This time I'm going to go in with a single crochet. So I'm just taking my yarn, I'm going to pull it through that chain and through the loop on the hook as well. And then into the next one, I'm going to go in with a single crochet because I do want this one to be a little bit slimmer or thinner. So kind of similar to this one right here. So after I do a single crochet, I feel like I want to do another single crochet into the next chain. So it's just based on preference, how thick you want the leaf to be, how curled you want it to be. So in the next one, I'm going to do a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, go into the next chain, grab the yarn and pull it through. I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So you can see it's just a little bit bigger now. So into the next one, you can go in with, you can make it bigger by doing a double crochet or a half double crochet by keeping it the same. So because I'll show you a couple more stitches, I'll do the double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, go through this chain, grasp my yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then I'm going to go into the next chain with another double crochet. So this one right here, going in with a double crochet. There's my 3 loops. I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then just for so I can demonstrate a triple crochet one more time before I officially go off camera, I'm just going to do it into this last stitch. But if you don't want to do a triple, you don't have to. You can keep doing your doubles. So to do a triple crochet, you're going to yarn over 2 times. You're going to go into your last chain or whatever chain you're on, and then you're going to take that yarn, pull it through. You have 4 loops on the hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2. You have 3 loops left, yarn over, pull through the next 2. You have 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then every time you're done with your last chain, you're just going to single crochet into the next stitch and then start your new chain. So I'll take that out to show you what it looks like. And that's how it currently looks. You don't have to keep doing what I'm doing. You can always, you know, change it up like I mentioned. Make yours curlier if you want to, make yours longer or shorter. It just all depends. But now I'm just going to go off camera before I run out of storage space, and then I'm just going to finish the leaves, and I'm just going to change it up depending on how I feel. But I think I'm going to go in with a chain of, I'm just going to keep chain of 8, 9, and 10 and just alternate between those. So I'll be back after I finish my last leaf. Okay, so I'm back after finishing mine, and you can see I have a lot of little leaves on the top. If you don't want it to be as full as mine, you could skip it. So I'm inserting this probably before you're even like near where I am. So while you're crocheting this and you feel like it's too close together, you can always single crochet in a stitch and then single crochet in another and do a chain if you don't like the look of how fluffy this is, because I have one right here that doesn't have as much leaves on the top, but I mean, I kind of like both, so it kind of just depends on how you want it to look. But yeah, if you don't want it to be as fluffy, just remember to single crochet into a stitch, and then instead of doing the chain in the same stitch, you'll single crochet into the next one. I forgot to mention that before I got off camera, but yeah, so just go ahead and do that if you don't want it to look as big. But now I'm going to show you how to close this. Okay, so what you're going to do is cut off some yarn, and you do need excess because, well, if you want to make this thing at the top, you do want to have some excess yarn, but if you don't, it doesn't have to be that long. So after you cut it off, you can just take your yarn and pull it out of the loop, and then you're going to need your threading needle. So go ahead and insert your yarn into the thread. Also at this point, you can go ahead and stuff your pineapple a little bit more if you need to, but after you do that, what we're going to do is on the outside, so you can see where the leaf and the yellow part, or the green and the yellow meet. What you're going to do is once you insert your yarn through the thread, you're just going to take your threading needle and insert it into a stitch and then push it back out. So basically in through one stitch, out through the other, and then you can do that to the next stitch. So just go in and back out. It's just weaving in and out. You can now pull it, and then you want to keep doing that all the way until you reach the other side. So back to where you started. So just keep going like in and push out. You go in and then push out, and then you can go ahead and pull it. So I'll show you again. I'm going to go in this stitch, back out, in this one, and then back out. So I'll just go ahead and do that until I reach back to where I originally started, so I can pull on this to close up the opening. Alright, so I'm back to where I originally started. You can see that green yarn right there. So this is where I originally had it attached. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull on this yarn, and you're going to see that it closes this right up. And then you can adjust the top hair, all of his little green hair right here, to how you like it. And that's how it currently looks. I did snag on this yarn, so that's kind of bothering me, but let's just try to hide it. So after you do that, you kind of want to open it just a bit. And what you're going to do is you want to take this yarn and bring it into the inside. So I'm going to take my threading needle right now, and I'm just going to push it into one of the leaves from the inside and push it out to the next. And I'm just trying to secure it to make sure this little hole is kind of closed. So you just want to keep attaching some leaves together. So I'm just attaching the leaf, closing it like that. You can see now it's closed up. So I'm going to do that one more time, but I'm going to hold on to this yarn right here. I'm inserting it into one of the leaves, and I'm going to push this threading needle through this loop. So I'm going through this loop right here, and that just helps secure it a little bit. There's like so many leaves trying to get through. Okay, but there it goes. Now I'm just going to pull on it a bit, and it just kind of creates a knot. And just make sure the hair is where you want it to be placed. I just kind of bunch it up at the top, and I like the skinnier leaves to pop up out through the middle. Okay, so now to create the yarn at the top, you can either attach yarn and just cut it, but what I'm going to do is, because I want to use the same yarn that I'm holding, I'm just going to take my threading needle and push it through the middle where I have all of the yarn bunched up, and I'm going to push it through. And you see how I have this loop still? I'm not going to go any further than this. I'm just going to leave the loop like this, and I'm going to pull my threading needle out. And then what you can do here is just, you see this loop and this yarn piece, you're just going to tie them together. So again, you have your loop and then your yarn piece right here, just tie it again. You can tie it as much as you like depending on how secure you want it. I feel like 1 or 2 is enough, even though I just did a 3rd one. And then with this yarn, you can just push it back in. If you want to cut it off, you can cut it off, but I'm just gonna push it back in there. And then now you have this part on the top. If you're gonna hang it on in your car, I do feel like you should just cut this middle part right here. And then that way, when you attach it to wherever you want it, you can tie a bow instead, because this way you can easily adjust how, you know, how high or low you want your pineapple to hang. But this is basically how it looks. Alright guys, so that's basically the end of my tutorial. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I really love the hair on this one. It just looks so full and cute. I have my other one here that I didn't add too much. I think they both look good, but I just wanted a little bit of variety. Some like a little bit less on the top, not that much going on. And then this one, he has all of his hair. All of that biotin he took just grew right up on top. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.